Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769 in Corsica. He trained as an artillery officer in mainland France and rose to prominence under the First French Republic. The Levant Mass was a military draft on France. It allowed a common man to work his way up the military ranks, created a sense of equality in the military, and also created a much larger army. Napoleon's artillery strategy was to use heavy artillery. This created a challenge for soldiers because they were very heavy to move and hard to maintain. Napoleon used plebiscites to gain absolute power in France. Either way, he was going to get the role of ruler, but he wanted people to feel like they had a say in the government. Napoleon's coronation took place on December 8, 1804 in Paris. This marked the moment when Napoleon became ruler of France. Although a cardinal usually crowns the new ruler, Napoleon crowned himself.
In March of 1804, 4 jurists drafted and submitted the Napoleonic Code. This code prohibited privileges based on birth, allowed freedom of religion, and specified that government jobs go to the most qualified. Later in 1804, Napoleon led a series of civil service reforms. During this time, France's legal system was chaos, and Napoleon reformed the government, education system, and law system to make things more efficient. Later, Napoleon sold Louisiana for a cheap price to the United States. He sold it since it was more valuable to the U.S. than to France. And during the time, he was engaged in war with Britain and needed the money for that war. France had not had good experience in North America, so he didn't want to have to deal with Louisiana. The Napoleonic Wars were a series of wars between 1803 and 1815. These wars were a continuation of the French Revolution and were some of the only good wars for Napoleon. The Peninsula War was probably the worst mistake Napoleon Bonaparte made during his reign over France. This was a mistake since it led to Napoleon losing many men and not gaining much. The continental system of France failed, and it failed for many reasons. First, it was an impossible scheme. All countries that were involved had to take a hit to their economy and were not gaining much. Also, it was tough for France to control the vast sea without a powerful fleet. In one of the most decisive naval battles in history, the Battle of Trafalgar, a British fleet under Lord Nelson defeated a combined French and Spanish fleet and fought off the coast of Spain. Napoleon's invasion of Russia was a disaster because he led his Grande Armée, likely the largest European armed force ever assembled, across the Niemen River into Russia. Although it never lost a pitched battle there, the Grande Armée was almost completely wiped out within 6 months due to starvation and low temperatures.
The exile to Elba is when Napoleon abdicates the throne and is banished to the Mediterranean island of Elba. The 100 Days mark the period between Napoleon's return to Paris and the second restoration of King Louis. This period also includes the Battle of Waterloo. The Battle of Waterloo was fought on Sunday, June 18, 1815, near Waterloo in present-day Belgium. A French army under the command of Napoleon was defeated by the 7 armies of the 7th Coalition. After the defeat, the European powers weren't taking any chances of him regaining the throne and exiled him to St. Helena.
After conducting all this research and looking at the data, we have concluded that Napoleon was a strong militant leader, but what led him to fall was that he was obsessed with taking control of the entire world. Napoleon was a dictator and was similar to some dictators in the modern times, but not as bad, since he was more fair than, say, Kim Jong-un. What larger lesson that can be learned is that Napoleon focused on foreign policies when there was problems in his own country. This shows that you should always focus on what's in your own town as opposed to looking larger across the entire world.